Good evening, dear listeners, and a very warm welcome to you all. Wherever you are tuning in from tonight, maybe cozied up in bed, listening from your favorite quiet corner at home, or perhaps relaxing somewhere peaceful with the world fading away outside. I'm so glad you've joined me here. Take a slow, deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Maybe pull the covers up a bit higher. And feel the day gently slip away. Let the story begin. Ridgewood Manor, that elegant Art Deco country house nestled in the Surrey Hills, was the perfect stage for tragedy. Crystal chandeliers tinkled above polished mahogany floors. Hothouse lilies scented the air, and guests in silk gowns played their refined roles at the weekend party. Then the celebrated actress Vivienne Laroche, star of the London stage, was found dead in her locked bedroom, poisoned by a dose of bitter medicine disguised in her nightcap. Her body slumped across the velvet chaise longue. The local police saw a simple suicide, a temperamental star overwhelmed by fading fame. But Hercule Poirot saw a performance. Someone in this theater of wealth was playing the role of innocent, the role of murderer. Chapter 1. The stage is set. The grand drawing room of Ridgewood Manor glowed with Art Deco elegance under the soft light of crystal chandeliers. Expensive Chanel perfume mingled with the rich aroma of strong continental coffee, and the faint trace of Cuban cigar smoke that still lingered from the previous evening's celebrations. Polished mahogany tables reflected the warm firelight, while heavy velvet curtains framed tall windows that overlooked the cold terrace outside. The air carried the delicate scent of hothouse lilies arranged in silver vases. Vivienne Laroche had been the undisputed star of the weekend party. At 42, the celebrated actress still commanded every room with her dramatic gestures and throaty laugh that seemed to echo across the parquet floors. Her latest triumph in a West End revival had brought her to Ridgewood Manor as the guest of honor, hosted by Sir Reginald and Lady Eleanor Harrington. The weekend gathering felt like a carefully staged production, every guest playing their assigned role with practiced grace. The discovery came at first light. A young maid, carrying crisp linen napkins that smelled faintly of lavender and starch, noticed the bedroom door locked from the inside. When the door was finally forced open, the scene revealed Vivienne Laroche slumped across the velvet chaise longue. One hand still clutched a smooth crystal glass. The unmistakable bitter almond scent of cyanide lingered beneath her signature Worth perfume. Cold marble tiles near the open window carried the chill night air into the once warm room. "Mon Dieu!" murmured Hercule Poirot as he arrived later that morning. He had been summoned discreetly by an old acquaintance of the family, who distrusted the local verdict. The Belgian detective tilted his egg-shaped head slightly, his green eyes gleaming with sharp interest as he surveyed the room like a director studying a freshly lit stage. He adjusted an imaginary wrinkle from his impeccably tailored sleeve with precise fingers. The local inspector presented the facts with cool professionalism. "Suicide," he suggested confidently. Vivienne had shown signs of depression over rumors that her age was finally catching up with her glittering career. A bottle of sleeping medicine stood untouched on the bedside table, though the fatal dose had clearly come from another source. No suicide note had been found, but the locked door and the undisturbed window suggested no intruder could have entered or left. Poirot smoothed his magnificent moustache thoughtfully. "Observe, mon ami, this stage, it is arranged too neatly. The actress dies alone, the door locked from within. Yet the performance of suicide, it lacks true conviction. Truth does not rehearse its exits so perfectly." Sir Reginald Harrington played the role of the shocked and gracious host with appropriate solemnity. Tall and silver-haired, he stood near the fireplace where fresh wood smoke curled gently upward. His rough tweed jacket felt coarse under his fingers as he gestured broadly toward the guests. She was our brightest light this weekend. Who could possibly have wanted her gone? This is a terrible loss for the theater world.
Lady Eleanor Harrington, dressed in a silk gown that rustled softly with every movement, dabbed at her eyes with a crisp linen napkin.
The warm drawing-room contrasted sharply with the memory of the icy champagne she had sipped the night before. Her sandalwood cologne drifted lightly as she spoke in measured tones. Vivienne was like a sister to me. We shared so many confidences. This tragedy is simply devastating. Marcus Hale, Vivienne's longtime manager, paced slowly near the grand piano. Distant piano music had filled the room the previous evening. Now only heavy silence remained. He ran a hand through his hair, his performance of grief marked by trembling hands that seemed carefully timed. She had everything to live for. The new play, the contracts, the adoring public. Why would she end it all? Clara Beaumont, the younger actress and supposed close friend, stood with her kid gloves discarded on a side table. She avoided direct eye contact with the others, her voice steady, yet her posture unusually rigid. We shared dressing rooms for years on tour. I admired her talent more than I can say. Lord Anthony Voss, the wealthy admirer whose lavish gifts of flowers and jewels had been the talk of society, positioned himself by the tall window. His leather shoes creaked softly on the parquet floor. His face displayed calm that masked something deeper beneath. She rejected my proposal only last night. Perhaps the disappointment proved too much for her sensitive nature. Young Julian Harrington, Sir Reginald's nephew, fidgeted in the corner wearing a rough tweed suit that clashed slightly with the refined surroundings. He toyed nervously with a champagne cork, saved from the previous night's festivities, his movements betraying restless energy. Aunt Eleanor adored Vivienne. Uncle Reginald treated her like family. I cannot imagine why anyone here would wish her harm. Poirot made a small expressive gesture with his hands, then arranged a few crystal glasses and a silver ashtray symmetrically on a nearby mahogany table. The faint scent of leather and furniture wax rose as he moved. Hercule Poirot is now the director of this drama. Every actor has taken their place upon the stage. Watch this performance carefully, mon ami. Is it truth or theatre? The mask slips. Did you catch it in Lady Eleanor's perfectly dry eyes? You watch with Poirot, non? You see how Marcus Hale's hands tremble at exactly the right dramatic moment? Ask yourself, why does Clara Beaumont avoid Lord Anthony's gaze so studiously? Consider the psychology. What role does each person here need to play to protect themselves? If you were hiding guilt, how would you perform innocence on this elegant stage? Too perfect, too rehearsed. Truth stumbles and hesitates. Lies flow smooth as silk. The careful observer, and you are becoming one, mon ami, will notice the small gestures that betray the carefully prepared script. The stage was set. The players had taken their places. Let the drama begin. Chapter 2. Enter the players. Formal interviews began in the oak-paneled library of Ridgewood Manor, where leather-bound volumes released a faint scent of aged paper mixed with fresh furniture wax. Hothouse roses in crystal vases added their sweet perfume, competing gently with the rich aroma of strong continental coffee that Poirot sipped from a smooth crystal cup. The grandfather clock chimed softly every quarter hour, marking each scene with its steady, solemn tick. Outside, rain pattered lightly against the tall windows, adding a melancholy rhythm to the proceedings. Marcus Hale entered first, playing the role of the devoted manager with resonant voice and measured gestures. Vivienne trusted me completely with her career, he declared, his words filling the warm room like a well-projected stage line. His fingers twisted a white handkerchief that remained curiously dry, despite sorrow he displayed. The heat from the nearby fireplace made the air feel close as he leaned forward in the polished mahogany chair. Poirot tilted his egg-shaped head, green eyes observant. "This role of the loyal manager suits you well, Monsieur Hale. But observe the eyes. Where is the genuine moisture of loss? The performance, it is technically sound, yet something feels rehearsed." Clara Beaumont followed, her silk blouse rustling softly as she took her seat. She performed wide-eyed innocence with soft, earnest words. "Vivienne and I were like sisters. We shared everything. Dressing rooms, confidences, even late-night talks about the new production. I would never harm her. Yet her gaze flicked too often toward the door, as if awaiting an unseen cue. The scent of her expensive perfume lingered in the air long after she spoke. Lord Anthony Voss arrived next, carrying the subtle aroma of fine sandalwood cologne and polished leather. His performance was one of dignified, restrained sorrow. "I loved her in my own way," he said steadily, hands resting calmly on the armrests. "Her rejection of my proposal last night stung but suicide? That seems unthinkable for a woman of her spirit." His posture remained composed, almost too steady against the crackling fire. Young Julian Harrington slouched into the room, wearing his rough tweed jacket, which contrasted sharply with the elegant surroundings. He attempted the role of the carefree nephew, offering a short laugh that rang false against the soft tinkling of the crystal chandelier in the distance. Aunt Eleanor thought the world of Vivienne. Uncle Reginald treated her like royalty. "I cannot see why anyone in this house would want her gone." His fingers kept playing with the champagne cork from the night before, betraying nervous energy. Lady Eleanor and Sir Reginald appeared together, presenting a united front of gracious hosts. Lady Eleanor dabbed at her eyes once more with a crisp linen napkin, while Sir Reginald offered cigars whose rich Cuban aroma slowly filled the library. Their alibis aligned neatly. They claimed to have retired together to their suite shortly after midnight, hearing nothing unusual. Contradictions soon emerged like missed cues in a poorly rehearsed play. Marcus insisted he had retired early to his room, yet a servant recalled seeing his shadow moving near Vivienne's corridor around 1 o'clock. Clara spoke warmly of a late-night chat with the victim, but Vivienne's personal diary, discovered earlier, noted growing tension over a shared leading role in the upcoming West End production. Lord Anthony described his proposal rejection as gentle, yet young Julian had witnessed raised voices and veiled threats. Poirot made an expressive gesture with his small hands, then smoothed an imaginary wrinkle from his sleeve. Each actor enters with their prepared script. Marcus plays devoted loyalty. Clara performs sisterly affection. Lord Anthony embodies the wounded yet noble suitor. The Harringtons present themselves as perfect hosts, but the lines, they do not quite match the stage directions provided by truth. "You see, but you do not observe the performance fully, mon ami." "Ah," but you say, "Poirot reads too much into these small gestures." Bear with me a moment longer. The mask slips in the way Clara's voice catches only when the new play is mentioned, as if fear hides behind the words. If you were hiding guilt in this elegant theatre, how would you perform innocence? Watch Marcus carefully. His grief flows too smoothly, like lines memorized overnight. Consider the psychology. What role does each person need to play to keep their secrets safe? The tension rises slowly in this second act. Someone will break character before long. We approach deeper revelations. Have you begun to identify which performer truly belongs on this stage? Every actor had taken their mark, but who played truth and who performed lies? Chapter 3. The first act deeper investigation moved forward in the quiet library of Ridgewood Manor. The air carried the mingled scents of hothouse roses, strong continental coffee, and faint furniture wax on the polished mahogany shelves. Rain continued tapping softly against the windows, while the grandfather clock chimed its steady rhythm. A thorough search of Vivienne Laroche's belongings uncovered a half-burned letter hidden among the ashes in the bedroom fireplace. The singed paper still showed legible words in Clara Beaumont's handwriting. "Your secret will ruin us both if it comes out." Poirot held the fragment carefully between his small hands. The texture of the charred paper felt brittle against his fingers. When confronted with the evidence during a private interview, Clara's mask began to slip. She broke into tears that finally appeared genuine. The shoulders shook, mascara ran down her cheeks in dark streaks, yet her hands clutched the edge of the velvet curtain too tightly, as if steadying herself for the next calculated line. The warm room suddenly felt colder as her performance shifted. The performance. She weeps, yes. The handkerchief dabs at the eyes. The shoulders, they shake appropriately. The tell, but observe. The tears come only after the burned letter is placed before her. Before that moment, her calm was too perfect, too controlled. A true friend, struck by sudden shock, does not calculate the emotional beats so precisely. The psychology. I am reminded of the Ackroyd affair, where a trusted man performed shock so convincingly that even I, Hercule Poirot, was momentarily deceived. He had rehearsed in front of mirrors, practicing the widening of the eyes, the dropping of the jaw at exactly the right second. But he made one fatal error. When the news was delivered, he reached for his cigarette case with hands that remained perfectly steady. A man truly shocked does not possess such steady hands in that first moment of horror. The body? It knows the truth even when the face tells the most polished lie. This is what the little gray cells understand. The psychology that lives beneath every performance. In that quiet village, the actor forgot that genuine emotion leaves its mark in the smallest physical betrayals. Much like Clara's tight grip on the velvet curtain here, reveals calculation rather than true collapse. The truth. Therefore, Mademoiselle Clara knew far more than she first admitted. Her grief, at least in part, is costume rather than feeling. You see it now, non? The theater begins to crumble around her. Reflection. In this first act unfolding at Ridgewood Manor, we witness how humans wear masks to survive the demanding stage of society. Vivienne Laroche performed eternal youth and unbreakable vitality, desperately hiding her fear that her fame was fading. Clara Beaumont wore the mask of the loyal, admiring friend while secretly nursing sharp professional jealousy over shared roles and opportunities. Why do people choose performance over raw truth? Fear of exposure drives them. Fear that their greed, resentment, hidden affairs, or quiet hatred will strip away the carefully constructed image. Society itself demands these roles. The gracious hostess, the devoted manager, the heartbroken yet dignified suitor. Beneath the silk gowns and polite smiles, raw and uncomfortable motives continue to simmer. This situation reminds me strongly of an earlier case involving a celebrated illusionist who made his own guilt vanish behind layers of charm and clever misdirection. He played the innocent bystander so flawlessly that multiple witnesses swore he had been nowhere near the crime. Yet his hands betrayed him every time he handled the props. Too practiced, too calm, never showing the slight tremor that real innocence would allow under pressure. The audience believed the dazzling show, Hercule Poirot saw only the wires and the hidden mechanisms. Humans deceive because the truth is messy, unpredictable, and often painful. Lies, by contrast, can be polished into perfect scripts that flow without hesitation. Yet every actor, no matter how skilled, eventually forgets their lines. The body rebels against the performance. A trembling voice where confidence is claimed, a steady hand where natural tremor should appear, an eye that refuses contact at the critical moment. These small slips are how truth forces its way onto the stage. The universal truth about deception is simple but profound. It thrives best under the bright spotlight of social expectation, where everyone is watching for the grand gesture but misses the quiet inconsistencies. The most dangerous performers are those who begin to believe their own carefully rehearsed roles. Theatrical wisdom for you, mon ami. Do not be distracted by the sweeping dramatic movements. Instead, watch closely during the quiet moments when the actor believes the curtain has already fallen and no one is still observing. It is there, in those unguarded seconds, that the true face finally appears. In the elegant theatre of Ridgewood Manor, some masks had already cracked. More would surely follow as the drama deepened. Chapter 4. Rehearsed lines. Poirot increased the pressure on the suspects in the warm drawing room of Ridgewood Manor. The fire crackled steadily, its warmth battling the chill seeping in from the cold terrace. Beyond the tall windows, the faint scent of Cuban cigars still lingered in the air, mixing with expensive perfume and the rich aroma of fresh continental coffee. Polished mahogany surfaces gleamed under the crystal chandelier, while silk gowns rustled as the actors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. He began with Marcus Hale, testing the manager's alibi like a fragile script. You claimed you retired early to your room, Monsieur Hale. Yet a servant clearly saw your shadow moving near Vivienne's corridor around 1 a.m. The medicine bottle that supplied the fatal dose carries traces that point uncomfortably close to you. Marcus's face tightened. His earlier performance of grief now showed visible strain. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the pleasant temperature of the room. He twisted the dry handkerchief between his fingers, the fabric growing damp at last. Clara Beaumont's rehearsed lines began to falter next. She insisted the burned letter concerned only a harmless shared debt from their touring days. It was nothing important, she repeated, but her voice cracked on the word harmless. The silk of her blouse rustled loudly as she shifted on the velvet settee. Her kid gloves lay forgotten on the side table, and her hands now trembled visibly when she reached for her coffee cup. The bitter taste seemed to linger on her tongue longer than expected. Lord Anthony Voss maintained his helpful cooperation at first, yet hesitation crept into his polished answers. When asked to repeat the exact words of his rejected proposal to Vivienne, he paused too long. She laughed it off lightly, he said. But the bitterness in his tone could not be masked by his fine sandalwood cologne. His leather shoes creaked against the parquet floor as he crossed his legs, the sound sharp in the quiet room. The performance of dignified sorrow started to show small fractures. Young Julian Harrington fidgeted more openly in his rough tweed jacket. His alibi, involving a late meeting with a village girl, began to crumble when Poirot calmly noted the timing did not match the servant's observations. Julian toyed nervously with the champagne cork from the previous night, his laughter sounding forced and hollow against the soft tinkling of the distant chandelier. I had nothing to do with any medicine, he protested, but his eyes darted toward his aunt and uncle. Sir Reginald and Lady Eleanor presented a united front, yet even their lines showed strain. Sir Reginald's claims of generous hospitality toward Vivienne rang slightly hollow when old financial records revealed significant debts tied to her past productions, debts that her death might conveniently ease. Lady Eleanor dabbed at her eyes with a crisp linen napkin, but the gesture now appeared mechanical rather than emotional. The warm firelight highlighted the tension in her posture. Poirot drew himself up to his full, still modest height and made an expressive gesture with his small hands. He then arranged several crystal glasses and a silver ashtray into perfect symmetry on the mahogany table. His green eyes gleamed with quiet satisfaction. Rehearsed lines, they begin to falter under pressure, mes amis. The script is failing because truth needs no rehearsal. Lies, on the other hand, demand constant attention and energy. Eventually, the actor grows tired. Watch this performance carefully. Is it truth or theater? The mask slips. Did you catch how Marcus's sweat appeared only when his alibi was challenged? You watch with Poirot, non? You see how Clara's hands tremble now that the letter has been mentioned again. Ask yourself, why does Lord Anthony avoid giving exact details of that final conversation? Consider the psychology. What role does each person here desperately need to keep playing? If you were hiding guilt, how would you try to hold your performance together as the spotlight grows brighter? Too perfect at the beginning. Now the lines stumble. Truth does not rehearse, yet lies require perfect memory. The careful observer, and you are becoming quite careful, mon ami. Will notice how the body betrays the mind when the script starts to collapse. The tension rises steadily. Someone will break character very soon. We approach the final act. Have you identified which performer is struggling the most with their role? Rehearsed lines began to falter. The script was failing. Chapter 5. The mask slips. The major confrontation unfolded in the oak-paneled library of Ridgewood Manor. Heavy velvet curtains framed the tall windows where rain continued its soft patter against the glass. The air carried the mingled scents of hothouse lilies, strong continental coffee, and the faint trace of sandalwood cologne. A fire crackled in the grate, its warmth contrasting with the chill that seemed to settle over the assembled suspects. Polished mahogany shelves gleamed under the soft light of a crystal lamp. Poirot turned the spotlight fully onto Marcus Hale. The Belgian detective stood with precise posture, his small hands making an expressive gesture as he spoke. You played the devoted manager so convincingly, Monsieur Hale. Yet the sleeping medicine bottle, the one that carried the fatal dose of cyanide, bears fingerprints that are unmistakably yours. They were wiped, but not perfectly. The performance, it begins to show its flaws. Marcus' face drained of color. For a moment he tried to maintain the mask of shocked loyalty, but then it fell completely. His shoulders began to shake with genuine, ragged sobs. The rich aroma of his cigar smoke still clung to his jacket as he collapsed into the leather chair. I supplied the sleeping draught. Yes, he confessed, his voice breaking. She asked me for it. She said she couldn't sleep with the pressure of the new play. But I swear I did not put poison in it. I loved her talent, and her. She was planning to leave me for a new manager. The rejection was unbearable. The emotional breakdown revealed the true feeling beneath the role. Obsession had been masked as professional care for years. Sweat glistened on his brow despite the cool draft from the window. His hands, once steady during earlier interviews, now trembled uncontrollably as he clutched the arms of the chair. The bitter taste of regret seemed to fill his mouth as he spoke. The performance, he collapses convincingly now. The sobs sound raw. The shoulders shake with apparent sincerity. The tell. But observe the earlier steadiness when he denied all knowledge of the medicine. A man truly innocent does not wipe fingerprints with such care and then forget a corner. The body betrays the mind when the mask can no longer be held. The psychology. I am reminded of the case of the theatrical agent who performed devotion while secretly plotting to replace his star with a younger client. He rehearsed looks of concern in hotel mirrors, practiced the exact tone of worry. Yet when the moment came, his hands remained too calm while handling the fatal glass. Genuine shock disrupts fine motor control. Calculated performance does not. The little gray cells understand this truth. The body knows what the tongue denies. Here, Marcus's sudden unsteadiness reveals the moment when performance gave way to reality. The truth. Marcus knew the poison had been administered, even if his own hand did not deliver the final dose. He enabled the opportunity. The mask had fallen. Beneath it, the true face at last. Clara Beaumont watched the scene with wide eyes, her own mask cracking further. Lord Anthony Voss shifted uncomfortably, his polished leather shoes creaking on the parquet floor. Young Julian fidgeted with the champagne cork, his rough tweed jacket suddenly feeling too warm in the firelit room. Lady Eleanor dabbed at her eyes with a crisp linen napkin, but the gesture lacked conviction. Poirot smoothed his magnificent mustache thoughtfully, then arranged a few objects on the table into perfect symmetry. His green eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he drew himself up. The psychology? It is everything. Greed may perform as grief. Obsession may wear the costume of loyalty. But eventually the actor forgets the lines. The body refuses to continue the lie. Watch this performance carefully, mon ami. Is it truth or theater? The mask slips. Did you catch the exact moment when Marcus' hands finally betrayed him? You watch with Poirot, non? You see how the confident manager has become a broken man before our eyes. Ask yourself, why did Marcus supply the medicine so readily if his love was pure? Consider the psychology. What role did he need to play to keep Vivian dependent on him? If you were hiding obsession masked as care, how long could you maintain the performance under bright lights? The tension has reached its peak. Someone's character has broken. We approach the heart of the drama. Have you begun to see the connections between these performances? The mask had fallen. The true face emerged. Chapter 6. Behind the curtain. The investigation moved backstage in the elegant rooms of Ridgewood Manor. Heavy velvet curtains were drawn back, revealing hidden letters and documents that had been concealed behind furniture and in secret drawers. The air carried the rich scent of hothouse lilies, mixed with lingering Cuban cigar smoke and the warm aroma of fresh coffee. Polished mahogany desks reflected the soft light from crystal lamps, while the faint rustle of silk and the creak of leather chairs accompanied the revelations. Past secrets emerged one by one. Vivienne Laroche had not been merely a fading star. She had been a skilled blackmailer. She held damaging knowledge over several members of the weekend party. Clara Beaumont and Lord Anthony Voss had shared a secret romantic liaison years earlier, one that could destroy both their reputations if exposed. Vivian had threatened to reveal the affair to the press, unless Clara stepped aside from a major new role. Lord Anthony's lavish gifts had not been pure generosity. They came with strings attached to silence old financial scandals. Young Julian Harrington owed Vivian large gambling debts. She had evidence of his cheating at cards and had threatened to inform his uncle, Sir Reginald, unless the debts were paid immediately. The pressure had pushed Julian to the edge. Sir Reginald and Lady Eleanor themselves faced financial strain. Old ties to Vivienne's past productions showed hidden loans that her death would conveniently erase, freeing them from uncomfortable obligations. The backstage of relationships was laid bare. What had appeared as warm friendship was resentment dressed in smiles. Loyalty masked long-standing hate. Professional admiration hid sharp professional jealousy. Marcus Hale's obsession with Vivienne had turned toxic when she announced plans to replace him. Clara's sisterly affection had been a performance covering fear of being overshadowed. Lord Anthony's dignified love concealed wounded pride and a desire for control. Poirot stood near the fireplace, where wood smoke curled gently upward. He touched his magnificent mustache thoughtfully, then made a small, expressive gesture with his hands. Behind the elegant curtain of this weekend party, mes amis, we find the real drama. Every smile hid a knife, every kind word carried a threat. Reflection. Behind the curtains of Ridgewood Manor, secrets drive every performance we have witnessed. Humans wear masks because society's grand stage demands flawless roles. The brilliant actress who never ages, the loyal friend who never competes, the generous host who never resents, the devoted manager who never obsesses. Greed performs as grief when a death brings sudden financial relief. Hate performs as loyalty when old wounds continue to fester beneath polite conversation. Love performs as indifference when obsession burns too brightly. We choose these masks to avoid the pain and judgment that raw truth would bring. Rejection, failure, exposure, loss of status. This case echoes the earlier case of the Veiled Lady, where a woman performed perfect widowhood so convincingly that her heavy mourning veil hid not sorrow but cold calculation. She rehearsed her sobs before mirrors each morning, timed her tears for maximum dramatic effect, and spoke of her late husband with exactly the right trembling voice. Yet she forgot that genuine grief lingers in the eyes and voice long after the handkerchief is folded away. Poirot saw through the veil because the little gray cells note the dangerous discrepancy. Performed emotion ends abruptly when the audience looks away. Real feeling continues to echo. The body cannot maintain the lie indefinitely. The universal truth is clear. Hidden motives fester in the darkness behind the curtain, gaining strength until the spotlight of truth forces them into the open. Every curtain conceals a secret. Every secret carries a motive rooted in fear, greed, pride, or twisted love. The most convincing actors are those who have worn their masks so long they no longer remember the face beneath. Yet truth has a way of demanding its entrance. When the performance grows too exhausting, the actor slips. A trembling hand, a dry eye, a voice that catches at the wrong moment. These are the cracks through which truth enters the stage. Theatrical wisdom for you, mon ami. Never trust the grand, sweeping gestures under the bright lights. The real story is always found backstage, in the quiet moments when the actor believes no one is watching. There the mask is lowered, and the true face appears, often uglier and more human than the role they played. In this elegant country house theater, the curtains have been pulled back. The secrets no longer hide. Behind every curtain, a secret. Behind every secret, a motive. The revelations left the suspects stripped of their polished performances. Clara sat pale and silent, her silk blouse no longer rustling with confidence. Lord Anthony stared into the fire, his leather shoes still against the parquet floor. Julian fidgeted less, the champagne cork forgotten in his lap. The Harringtons exchanged uneasy glances, their united front beginning to crack. Marcus remained slumped in his chair, the weight of truth pressing heavily upon him. Poirot arranged a few scattered papers into neat symmetry on the mahogany table. His green eyes gleamed with quiet understanding. The elegant stage that had once sparkled with champagne and laughter now felt heavier, more honest. Behind every curtain, a secret. Every secret, a motive. Chapter 7. The Final Act. The entire cast was assembled in the grand drawing room of Ridgewood Manor. Crystal chandeliers tinkled softly overhead as the warm firelight danced across polished mahogany tables and heavy velvet curtains. The air was thick with the mingled scents of hothouse lilies, lingering Cuban cigar smoke, and the rich aroma of strong continental coffee. Outside, rain tapped insistently against the tall windows, while the grandfather clock chimed the hour with solemn finality. Every actor sat in their place, silk gowns rustling and leather shoes creaking as tension filled the elegant stage. Hercule Poirot took center stage. He drew himself up to his full, still modest height, and made an expressive gesture with his small hands. His green eyes gleamed with quiet satisfaction as he smoothed an imaginary wrinkle from his sleeve. He arranged a few crystal glasses into perfect symmetry on the mahogany table before beginning. Mesdames et messieurs, you have each performed for Poirot. Some truthfully, some not. Let us review the performances, shall we? Marcus Hale, you played the grieving, devoted manager with such feeling. The trembling hands, the broken voice, the claims of undying loyalty. But the sleeping medicine bottle, the one that delivered the fatal dose, was supplied by you. Your fingerprints, though poorly wiped, told the tale. The grief, it was partly costume. Obsession masked as professional care. You enabled the opportunity because Vivienne planned to leave you. Marcus sat slumped, his face pale. The mask of sorrow had already cracked earlier. Now it lay in pieces. Clara Beaumont! You performed the loyal friend and sisterly confidante so convincingly. The wide eyes, the soft words of admiration. Yet the burned letter in the fireplace spoke of secrets that could ruin careers. Your secret affair with Lord Anthony, which Vivienne threatened to expose unless you stepped aside from the new leading role. Loyalty does not hide such dangerous letters or burn evidence. Your performance of innocence hid sharp professional jealousy. Clara's hands trembled in her lap. Her silk blouse rustled as she shifted, no longer able to meet anyone's eyes. Lord Anthony Voss, your role was the dignified, heartbroken suitor, the rejected proposal, the lavish gifts, the calm sorrow. Yet that proposal carried veiled threats, and your old financial scandals gave you reason to silence Vivienne. Innocent bystanders do not burn letters or hesitate when recounting final conversations. Your performance of noble love masked wounded pride and a desire for control. Lord Anthony stared fixedly at the fire, his polished leather shoes still against the parquet floor. The sandalwood cologne could no longer mask the bitterness. Sir Reginald and Lady Eleanor Harrington, you played the gracious hosts with perfect hospitality. The united front, the dry eyes, the claims of deep affection for the guest of honor. But old financial ties to Vivienne's productions showed loans and debts that her death would conveniently erase. Gracious hosts do not benefit so directly from a guest's silence. The Harringtons exchanged a tense glance. Lady Eleanor's crisp linen napkin lay forgotten in her hands. And so we come to our leading performer, Julian Harrington. Poirot's voice grew sharper. He touched his magnificent mustache thoughtfully, then continued, You gave the most convincing performance of all. The restless but harmless nephew, the shocked young man offering help at every turn, the casual laughter, the fidgeting with the champagne cork, the claims of innocence. Magnifique! But you made one fatal error, one small moment when the mask slipped completely. You were the one who discovered the locked door at dawn and called for help. Your hand was strangely steady when you pointed it out, as if you already knew exactly what would be found inside. The poison was slipped into Vivienne's nightcap by you, disguised as a final thoughtful gesture when you delivered her a drink late that night. Your large gambling debts to her, the evidence of your cheating at cards, which she threatened to expose to your uncle. These provided a clear and pressing motive. Greed and fear performed as carefree youth. The body does not lie when the mind scripts perfection. Your steady hand at the moment of discovery betrayed you. Julian's face drained of all color. He tried to speak, but only a strangled sound emerged. The champagne cork rolled from his fingers onto the parquet floor with a soft clatter. His rough tweed jacket suddenly seemed too heavy. The mask of the innocent nephew shattered completely as he slumped forward, shoulders shaking with real, unrehearsed despair. Poirot made one final expressive gesture with his small hands. His green eyes shone with the satisfaction of truth revealed. The performance is over. The curtain falls. The truth, she takes her bow. Justice will now play its own role. The room fell into heavy silence, broken only by the crackling fire and the soft rain on the windows. No one applauded. The elegant stage that had sparkled with champagne and laughter now stood exposed under the harsh spotlight of truth. The final act concluded. Only truth survived the curtain call. Chapter 8. Curtain call. The grand drawing-room of Ridgewood Manor felt suddenly smaller after Poirot's revelation. The crystal chandeliers still tinkled softly overhead, but their light now seemed harsher, exposing every strained face. The warm fire continued to crackle, sending wood smoke curling toward the velvet curtains, while the scent of hothouse lilies mixed with the fading aroma of strong continental coffee and lingering Cuban cigar smoke. Rain pattered steadily against the tall windows, a gentle percussion marking the end of the performance. Polished mahogany tables reflected the scene in quiet symmetry. Julian Harrington sat motionless, his rough tweed jacket rumpled, the champagne cork long forgotten on the parquet floor. His face was ashen, eyes downcast. The mask of the carefree nephew had been stripped away completely, revealing a desperate young man driven by gambling debts and fear of exposure. 2 constables stood quietly by the door waiting to escort him. He offered no resistance, only a soft, broken sigh that carried the bitter taste of defeat. Clara Beaumont wept openly now, but the tears were different, genuine relief mixed with shame. Her silk blouse rustled as she dabbed at her eyes with a crisp linen napkin. The burned letter and her secret affair with Lord Anthony no longer needed hiding. "I never wanted her dead," she whispered, voice trembling, "only to protect my own future." Her performance of loyal friendship had crumbled, leaving a woman forced to face her jealousy and ambition without costume. Lord Anthony Voss rose slowly, his leather shoes creaking on the floor. The dignified suitor role had collapsed. His fine sandalwood cologne could no longer mask the bitterness of wounded pride. He stared at Julian with cold disbelief, then turned to Poirot. "I thought my proposal was private. Vivien's threats. I never imagined it would end like this." His hands, once steady, now showed a slight tremor as he adjusted his cuff. The wealthy admirer had been reduced to an ordinary man whose love had carried threads of control and resentment. Sir Reginald and Lady Eleanor Harrington sat side by side, their united front fractured. Lady Eleanor's face was pale beneath her careful makeup. She no longer dabbed at dry eyes. Real emotion showed in the tightness of her mouth. Sir Reginald's silver hair seemed duller in the firelight. The gracious hosts now confronted the uncomfortable truth that financial relief from Vivien's silence had tempted darker thoughts. "We welcomed her as family," Sir Reginald said quietly, but the words rang hollow even to his own ears. The rough texture of his tweed jacket felt coarse against his skin as he shifted uncomfortably. Marcus Hale remained slumped in his chair, the scent of his cigar smoke still clinging to his clothes. His earlier breakdown had left him drained. Obsession had cost him everything. "I only wanted to keep her close," he murmured. The devoted manager's polished performance had given way to raw regret. His hands lay limp in his lap, no longer trembling for effect, but heavy with consequence. Poirot stood quietly near the fireplace, watching the aftermath with thoughtful green eyes. He touched his magnificent mustache lightly, then arranged a few scattered crystal glasses into perfect order on the mahogany table. The chill from the terrace windows contrasted with the fire's warmth, mirroring the shift from theatrical warmth to cold reality. Justice began its slow, methodical machinery. Statements were taken, evidence formally noted. The local inspector, once convinced of suicide, now nodded respectfully toward Poirot. No dramatic arrests with flashing lights, only quiet removal of Julian under caution. The elegant country house, once a glittering stage for a weekend party, now felt subdued. Footsteps on the parquet floor sounded heavier. Doors closed softly behind departing figures. The distant sound of a car engine faded into the rainy night. The characters stood stripped of their roles. Clara no longer avoided eyes. She met them with quiet honesty. Lord Anthony withdrew into himself, the suitor's charm gone. The Harringtons faced the coming scandal with grim acceptance, their hospitality forever tainted. Marcus stared into the fire, the manager's confidence replaced by emptiness. Poirot made a small expressive gesture with his hands. "The curtain call has come, mes amis. There is no applause for this performance. Only the quiet beginning of justice. The theater of crime always ends this way. Elegance gives way to truth. Masks fall, and what remains is human, flawed, and real. Watch the reactions carefully, mon ami. Is this truth or another layer of theater? The mask slips one final time. Did you see how Julian's shoulders no longer shook for show, but with genuine weight? You watched the entire drama with Poirot. Now observe how relief and regret replace the rehearsed lines. The tension that built through every act has finally broken. The spotlight dims. Ask yourself, which performance surprised you most when the curtain fell? Consider how easily society's elegant roles hide darker motives. No applause echoed in the drawing room. The champagne corks and silk gowns felt distant now. Only the soft rain and the steady grandfather clock remained, marking time in a house that would never host the same glittering weekend again. No applause for this performance, only justice. Chapter 9 of the show. The elegant stage of Ridgewood Manor slowly emptied in the days following. The final revelation. Morning light filtered through the tall windows, casting soft patterns across the polished mahogany floors, where crystal chandeliers no longer sparkled with party gaiety. The scent of hothouse lilies had begun to fade, replaced by the cleaner smell of fresh air and furniture wax, as servants quietly restored order. Velvet curtains were drawn back fully, allowing chill daylight to touch the cold marble tiles near the terrace. The grandfather clock continued its steady chime, but the house felt quieter, as if exhaling after a long dramatic performance. Transformations unfolded gradually among the surviving players. Clara Beaumont returned to London with a new resolve. The jealousy that had once twisted her friendship with Vivienne had been exposed and confronted. She accepted a supporting role in a modest new production, choosing honest work over desperate competition. Her silk blouses and kid gloves remained elegant, but her eyes now carried genuine warmth rather than calculated innocence. The mask of the loyal sister had been replaced by quiet self-awareness. She wrote a short note to Poirot thanking him for forcing her to face the hard truth behind her performance. Lord Anthony Voss retreated from society's spotlight. The wealthy admirer sold several properties and withdrew to a smaller estate in the country. His obsession with control masked as generous love, had left him shaken. He no longer sent lavish gifts or made dramatic proposals. Instead, he sought simpler pursuits, gardening and reading, where no audience demanded perfection. The fine sandalwood cologne gave way to the scent of earth and fresh flowers. His leather shoes trod softer paths now, free from the creak of rehearsed confidence. Sir Reginald and Lady Eleanor Harrington decided to sell Ridgewood Manor. The grand country house, once the perfect setting for elegant weekends, had become tainted by tragedy and hidden motives. They moved to a smaller London townhouse, where the drawing rooms felt less like stages and more like private spaces. Lady Eleanor no longer dabbed at dry eyes with crisp linen napkins. She allowed herself honest moments of reflection. Sir Reginald's rough tweed jackets hung less formally. Their united front of gracious hosts had given way to a quieter partnership built on facing uncomfortable truths together. Financial relief from old debts brought no joy, only a sober understanding of how greed could perform as hospitality. Marcus Hale faced his own reckoning. The devoted manager's obsession had cost him both career and freedom. He pleaded guilty to supplying the medicine and received a lighter sentence for cooperation. In prison, he began writing letters of genuine remorse, no longer rehearsing lines for an imagined audience. The rich aroma of Cuban cigars was replaced by plain prison air, but his hands finally stopped trembling with calculated grief. He spoke of Vivienne with quiet respect rather than possessive love. Young Julian Harrington, the leading performer whose mask had shattered so completely, began his sentence with surprising calm. The restless nephew's charm had been stripped away, revealing a young man capable of facing consequences. In time, he expressed willingness to make amends, perhaps through work that required no performance, simple labor that demanded only honesty. The rough tweed jacket was exchanged for prison grays, but the fidgeting hands grew steadier as truth settled upon him. Poirot remained a few days longer, observing these changes from the wings. He sat in the now peaceful drawing room, sipping strong continental coffee from a smooth crystal cup. The fire crackled gently, its warmth welcome against the chill night air that still crept in from the terrace. He arranged a few remaining objects symmetrically on the mahogany table: a silver ashtray, a linen napkin, a single lily in a vase. His green eyes gleamed with quiet satisfaction as he touched his magnificent mustache thoughtfully. The elegant country house returned to a state of peaceful quiet. Servants polished the parquet floors until they shone once more. The scent of wood smoke and furniture wax filled the rooms without the overlay of expensive perfume or champagne. No distant piano music played. No champagne corks popped. The theater had emptied, leaving only echoes of the drama that had unfolded. Watch these transformations carefully, mon ami. Is this truth or another subtle performance? The masks have fallen, yet new, quieter roles emerge. You have watched the entire play with Poirot. Now observe how each actor steps off the stage changed. Ask yourself, which character's future surprised you most? Consider the psychology. When forced to drop the rehearsed lines, what remains of a person? Greed, fear, and obsession lose their power when exposed to daylight. Truth, though painful, allows genuine growth. The lessons of Ridgewood Manor lingered long after the last guest departed. Society's elegant stages demand many masks, grief performing as relief, loyalty hiding resentment, love masking control. Yet when the curtain falls and the spotlight dims, only honesty can build a real future. The theater of crime had played its final scene, but the wisdom it offered remained with those willing to listen. Poirot rose from his chair, smoothing an imaginary wrinkle from his sleeve. he made one last expressive gesture with his small hands toward the empty room. The stage was bare now. The drama had concluded. Futures stretched ahead, shaped not by performance, but by the quiet courage to live without masks. The theater emptied. The lessons remained. Chapter 10. Poirot reviews the performance Hercule. Poirot sat comfortably in his London apartment, the late afternoon light filtering softly through the curtains. A steaming cup of tisane rested on the polished mahogany table, its herbal aroma rising gently and mingling with the faint scent of furniture wax and fresh flowers from a small vase of lilies. The fire crackled warmly in the grate, pushing back the chill of the evening air. Outside, distant city sounds were muted, while inside, order and symmetry reigned, books neatly arranged, crystal glasses aligned with precision. He smoothed his magnificent mustache thoughtfully, then adjusted an imaginary wrinkle from his sleeve with careful fingers. News of the character's fates had reached him over the past weeks. Clara Beaumont had taken a modest but honest role in a new West End production. Her jealousy transformed into quiet professionalism. Lord Anthony Voss lived more simply now. His possessive love cooled into reflection. The Harringtons had sold Ridgewood Manor and settled into a smaller townhouse, their gracious host façade replaced by sober partnership. Marcus Hale served his sentence with genuine remorse, no longer performing devotion. Julian Harrington faced justice calmly, his restless charm giving way to accountability. The elegant stage had emptied, leaving each actor to begin a new, less theatrical life. Why do people perform rather than reveal the truth, mon ami? Fear, above all. Society's grand stage demands flawless roles. The brilliant actress forever young, the loyal friend without rivalry, the generous host without resentment, the devoted manager without obsession. We wear masks to shield fragile egos from exposure. Greed dressed as grief when death brings financial relief. Hate performing as loyalty when old wounds fester. Love masking dangerous obsession. The body knows the truth even when the tongue recites polished lines. A steady hand where tremor should appear. Dry eyes in performed sorrow. A voice too smooth in moments of claimed shock. These betrayals reveal the actor beneath the costume. In the case of Vivienne Laroche, every suspect played their part with skill. Marcus performed devotion while enabling murder through obsession. Clara wore sisterly affection to hide professional jealousy and a secret affair. Lord Anthony embodied the wounded suitor, concealing pride and control. The Harringtons presented hospitality while quietly welcoming relief from debts. Julian gave the most convincing show as the harmless nephew. Yet his steady hand at the discovery of the locked door betrayed him. Greed and fear performed as carefree youth. The psychology is clear. Guilt always betrays the actor because maintaining the mask requires constant energy. Truth rests naturally, lies demand rehearsal. This drama strongly paralleled the Ackroyd affair, where a trusted figure performed normalcy and shock so perfectly that even Poirot was briefly deceived. In that quiet village, the murderer rehearsed widened eyes and dropped jaw before mirrors, yet reached for his cigarette case with hands too steady for genuine horror. The body rebelled against the script. Here at Ridgewood Manor, similar tells appeared, Marcus' trembling hands only after confrontation, Clara's tight grip on the velvet curtain, Julian's calm precision when he should have shown shock. The little gray cells understand that performed emotion ends abruptly when the audience looks away, while real feeling lingers in voice, posture, and small unconscious gestures. Humans deceive because truth is messy and painful. Lies can be perfected into smooth scripts. Yet every actor eventually forgets their lines. the body refuses to cooperate forever. The masks society forces upon us are many and heavy. We perform grief at funerals while feeling secret relief. We display confidence while terror gnaws inside. We offer loyalty while resentment burns. These performances protect us from judgment, but they also isolate us from genuine connection. When the spotlight of investigation shines, the effort to maintain the role becomes exhausting. Sweat appears where none should, hands tremble despite rehearsal, eyes avoid contact at critical moments. Revelation brings pain, but also freedom. Once the mask falls, the person beneath can breathe, grow, and live without the weight of constant acting. The psychology of revelation is profound. Truth triumphs over performance because authenticity requires no energy to sustain. Lies demand perfect memory and endless vigilance. In the theater of crime, the guilty always slip eventually. Through a missed cue, a contradictory alibi, or a physical tell the body cannot suppress. Order and method, combined with deep understanding of human nature, allow Poirot to see behind every curtain. The elegant Art Deco setting of Ridgewood Manor, its crystal chandeliers, silk gowns, champagne corks, and hothouse flowers provided the perfect glamorous stage. Yet beneath the refinement lay raw motives of greed, fear, pride, and obsession. You have watched the entire drama with Poirot, mon ami. You saw the masks slip one by one. You observed how rehearsed lines faltered under pressure. You learned to notice not the grand gestures, but the quiet moments when the actor believed no one watched. This is the true art of detection, reading the psychology beneath the performance. The universal lesson is simple yet eternal. People wear masks because they fear the judgment of the audience, society, family, friends. But truth has a way of demanding its entrance. When the curtain finally falls, only honesty remains. The theater empties, the applause fades, and what lingers are the quiet transformations born from facing reality without costume. Poirot sipped his tisane, the warm liquid comforting against the evening chill. He arranged the cup and saucer into perfect alignment on the table. His green eyes gleamed with quiet wisdom as he leaned back in his chair. Until the next theater of crime, mes amis. Poirot watches always,